All right, welcome to the Mediaverse Studios podcast. Tonight we have a really special guest. Her name is Stephanie Schneider. She is an actor, an intimacy coordinator, a performer, and a multitude of hats worn by this wonderful, talented person. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
Great.
Yeah.
So I guess let's just start with your background. What do we need to know about you?
I grew up in a very musical household. I grew up singing and playing the piano and playing instruments. And then in high school, I kind of did my first official musical. We did Les Mis. I fell in love with it.
Nice.
And I didn't really consider performing a reasonable career. It didn't seem like there was any clear path for that. So I was like, okay, next best thing. I'll go to school for music education. I'll teach people music. Did that. Got like my last year into student teaching, and I was like, I don't think this is for me.
Okay.
So I didn't go into teaching. Learned a lot in college.
Yeah.
But I kind of, after a couple years out of college, I told my partner, I have to try this acting thing. I feel like there's a part of me that really, like, this is a path and I need to at least try, or I'm gonna always wonder what if. And at that time I was like, I would like to be on Broadway. Not saying that that's not still achievable at some point, but I think my main focus was musical theater, because that's kind of what I grew up in, the music aspect.
Sure.
But I grew up loving film, and specifically Star Wars. Huge Star Wars nerd. So I, after a couple years of doing theater and kind of getting some training, I started to kind of dabble in some friends' films here and there, and kind of, I don't know, it's kind of just evolved from one thing to the next, and I couldn't have predicted like where I still can't predict where I'll end up, but I never predicted I would be where I am now.
And where are you now?
Oh, where am I now? I work a day job like most artists do, but now I've done some films that I've really enjoyed that have, in some ways, fulfilled some childhood dreams for me, and also still love to do theater. I love to dance. Singing in the Rain was the most recent thing I've done at the Playhouse. I played Kathy, and it just like tapping and dancing and just bringing joy to people.
You tap dance?
I do.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. I learned as an adult. Actually,
Really?
only like 7 years ago, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I took ballet and tap as an adult.
That's amazing.
I didn't dance growing up, besides show choir. I don't know if you count show choir.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Counts.
So in high school, I did 2 years of show choir, and then, but nothing besides that. No official training.
Right. How did you take to it as an adult, as opposed to, say, you had learned, as a child? Is it more like you lose some neuroplasticity when you grow up? Was it harder to have that mind-body connection to the dancing, or did it come easy?
I think it came easier to me than most.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I also played soccer in high school and college, actually. So, like footwork, I think helped with that.
Sure.
With the specifics of tap, made sense in my mind. There's a lot of like little movements in soccer you do with your feet, obviously. Right. So, plus dance is always like, it's such an embodying thing and I'm musical too. So like rhythm, like my musical training, and rhythm paired with like being generally athletic, like I think helped me very well in that.
Nice.
Ballet, very hard. A whole other story.
Sure.
It's just doesn't make as much sense to my brain as tap does. Tap's a little bit more loose.
Sure.
Ballet's, a whole other ballgame.
When you say that you prefer film to stage performance, or other way around?
That's tough. I think I can't. There's something about performing in front of a live audience and getting immediate validation or like applause. There's an energy in the room that you bring to it. but there's a lot more risk in like knowing lines, and you can't just go back or try something different or maybe explore quite as much, but you have a lot of prep time, which is I really enjoy. But I think there's something about film, seeing it after it's completed, after everyone's had a hand in it, that you get to just observe what you've done and what everyone's done together, because you don't get to see yourself do it in theater.
Right.
So I think that's cool. You get to like watch actually what you've done and watch the whole story, as opposed to, you know, I'm off for this scene, but I'm off stage changing, or I'm getting ready for the next time I'm on stage, or, you know, that kind of thing. You don't see the whole story as often. So
just different energies that you really like to play with. That's cool.
Yeah.
What are some of the films that you've kind of been a part of that we can look forward to, or that we can see now?
Absolutely. Quite a few are actually submitted to festivals right now. So Between the Lines is one I filmed in Sioux Falls,
nice.
South Dakota, with Shelby Haggerden.
Cool.
And that was lovely. We shot in a bookstore bar.
Cool.
It was the coolest place. I love the story. It's really about a writer who's kind of gotten away from her art, her craft, due to life being heavy as it is. And then through a series of friends and new acquaintances, there's maybe some hope in there. So that premiered in February. So after it runs its festival circuit, I'm excited for people to see that.
Yeah.
Peck is another film by Antoinette Lavelle, Allison O'Hara. We filmed last fall. We did some pickups this spring, so we're really hoping for early 2024 premiere.
Nice.
And that's a period piece about mental health, friendships, and just general relationships between women in the like early 1900s. So so I'm very excited about that. Ghost to Ghost, I was briefly in, which is Andrew Peterson wrote and directed it. It's based off the and I might be butchering this, the radio show Coast to Coast, which is where people call in and talk about kind of their spooky experiences.
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah.
So this is like kind of based off that. It's about someone who has like the experience of something kind of supernatural happening to them, and then they call in, but it's called Ghost to Ghost.
Nice.
So yeah, that I don't know if that's submitted to festivals. I'll have to check on that. But if not, I'll link it. I know, like I think it at the Des Moines Underground Film Fest. It was shown just a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So
nice.
Yeah. So I think those are the main ones. Yeah. Oh, and also I had a brief scene in Diana in Love, which is a dramatized documentary format of Princess Diana. This is written and directed by Brent Roski. And Brent did submit it to the Golden Globes, but
Wow. Was this a Midwest film, or was this?
Yeah. It was filmed partially here, and then partially in LA.
Wow.
So oh dear. Names are hard.
That's okay. Take your time thinking about it.
Yeah, I didn't film with a lot of those people, but the niece of the actor who played Voldemort plays Diana. Shanti, I believe is her name. Incredible. Just it feels like Diana. And I think it's very interesting because also The Crown their last season is about Diana and is up for those awards as well. So we'll see what happens, but it was super fun to shoot, and I had a blast on that one too.
Nice.
So
how does it compare to like Spencer? Have you seen that?
I actually haven't seen Spencer. It's on my list.
That's a really good movie. Holy smokes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited to watch that.
Yeah, please. And then I want to hear about it. The other film that you didn't mention was you talking about a dream coming true, and I remember you had said this on set, but we were...
I can't believe I forgot.
We were on set together in Star Wars Inquisition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Truly. why that one's the one I think I just saved it for last. That's what I'm going to go with.
Oh, there you go. We'll just cut right to this, and so continue.
Yeah, I kind of got in on the tail end of that too because I knew Chase Stein.
Right.
Actually, Chase was in Singing in the Rain with me. That's how we met.
Cool. Okay.
During the first round when COVID struck.
Right.
We did it twice actually. So
we had him on the podcast. He didn't even bring it up. Come on, Chase.
You know, really, Chase. So yeah, I think I was talking to him about when we were filming Ghost to Ghost. He was talking about another project he was possibly doing that wasn't actually the Star Wars film. So when I messaged him and I said like, "Hey, I'm still interested maybe in this other project that you were thinking about," and he was like, "Oh, the Star Wars one," and I was like, "What Star Wars one?" What do you mean Star Wars? So then I became, that I got to be a Jedi.
That's so cool.
So fun. And that's obviously how we met.
Yeah.
Truly a dream come true. I also took a page out of Lindsay Sterling's book and made my own costume.
Oh, cool.
So she's someone I really admire. But I used all like basically secondhand materials that I found and created my own costume. So
when this comes out, I want people to know like your costume and your hair, how you did everything was just so Jedi, like so perfect. Like you understood the assignment when you did this thing. You came onto set and you were like, I was like,
I've been waiting.
That's someone who knows Star Wars.
Yes, and I got a line.
You got the line.
I got
you
a
got
line.
your lightsaber duel. Like,
I got a couple lightsaber slashes in there. Yes, I'm super excited about it. So TBD on when that will come. Visual effects is in the works.
I'm trying to manifest like before Christmas.
Connor, present.
Let's do it.
This is what we're asking for.
And that was directed by Connor Botts and Chase Stein, and really great cast and crew. Excited to see that. Yeah, you were great in it.
Thank you. You were too.
So in addition to acting, you also do intimacy coordination.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of people, especially indie filmmakers, Midwest filmmakers, may not know what exactly that is and why it's important. So I would want to just kind of give you the platform to talk about what that is and what you do and why it's such an important thing.
Absolutely. And I would go as far to say it isn't just Midwest that it's like newer too. It just to the market as a whole, the very first intimacy coordinator was used in 2017.
Wow.
So it is a fairly new position. So I feel like there's some talk about it, and we've heard some actors kind of speak out about it, but I think it's important like to begin the discussion about it. So intimacy coordinators, this is specifically for film. Intimacy directors are theater, and I do both.
Okay.
But yeah, for film, essentially we work similarly to like what a stunt coordinator would do for stunt scenes. Yeah. So it kind of was born out of that, like out of Tarana Burke started first with her Me Too, and she's the person who coined that term for women of color who were experiencing sexual assault and has find some comfort in each other in that. And she has a fantastic brain. No, actually, this is just in general.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so this is prior to the big 2016 where a lot of actors came forward.
The movie,
So this is actually before. Tarana Burke coined the term before that.
Gotcha.
And then it kind of spiraled as actors started to use it to describe what was happening to them, either on set or in productions or in film. And so that's kind of when then Me Too happened. And so from that, stunt coordinators were starting to think, we have all these protocols for stunt scenes, but we have nothing for intimacy scenes, which while may not be physically risky, are very emotional, very vulnerable scenes. And are risky in that sense.
Yes.
So that's kind of like where it came from. And since then, there have been quite a few organizations that do training, that offer workshops, classes for anybody who's interested. Cool. I specifically trained with intimacy directors and coordinators. But so how we work on set is we are advocates for actors' boundaries. So we take actors' individual boundaries and we take the director's vision and we help put it together along with safety protocols. And so when everyone gets on set, everybody knows exactly what's happening. We save time. We make sure everybody has agreed to what's happening and there's no surprises. So it kind of helps build a culture of consent. We're also there to help support director, crew, anybody else who's there witnessing the scene too, because there could be other things that happen as well.
Does this just apply to like a sex scene in a movie? Is it something that's like just for that, or what does it expand out to, a kissing scene or a nude scene or anything like that?
Yeah, usually we recommend anything that has nudity, simulated sex, or hyperexposure. Okay. So, someone who maybe has always had their head covered and that's part of who they are. They're, maybe taking that off for a scene would be an example of like hyperexposure.
Wow. Yeah.
Anything like that.
Gotcha.
I get called in a lot for even just scenes where it's romantic between two characters. When there's a big age gap sometimes as well.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it kind of depends, but usually nudity, simulated sex, and hyperexposure, like the three we should have someone on set for that.
Is it similar, I guess, to stunt coordination where I get the parallel between the two, but is there also like just this kind of like safety briefing ahead of time? Like before we run the scene, the intimacy coordinator is going to come on and, lay it out. Here's the boundaries. Here's the safety protocols. Here's what we do. Or is it, I guess that was the question. I mean, how do you operate that?
Yeah, I'll just kind of walk you through what it might look like.
Let's do it.
So I get called in. They're like, yes, we will pay you to do the thing. You're good.
You're hired.
You're hired. So then I note which scenes we're working on, whether it's for that week or for it's the run of the film. I note those, and then I talk to each actor individually, and I talk to them about like, how are you feeling about this? How much are you comfortable showing? That kind of thing. We talk through their boundaries around those scenes specifically.
This is a private conversation.
Okay. Between me and the actor. And then me and the other, if there's other actors in the scene, the same thing. Okay. And then I'll meet with the director as well. And this can all happen like time-wise. It's like whenever anyone's ready. But then talk to the director, see what they're thinking, get kind of what their vision is for the scene so I can relay that to the actor. So we're just kind of, and we can also have a meeting, the three of us. There's usually a rehearsal at some point. If there's nudity writers, I'm involved in just making sure the actor's aware of what language we're going to send on to legal for that. And then I make sure if we need modesty garments or anything else from wardrobe, I just kind of coordinate with all the other heads of departments. Sure. And then day of filming, we'd have like generally, we have our safety meeting at the beginning of the day. I just tell the crew what to expect, what they're going to see, how a closed set works as well. We work on a closed sets for those things. Gotcha. Or reduced set. There are a couple other terms for it.
Just the bare bones crew as much as you can. People can shed.
So we kind of like talk through what to expect, how to navigate things as well. Yep. And then hopefully we set up and we film and I check in with everyone, make sure everything's good. Yep. And hopefully everything runs smoothly. So,
Is there any, I guess maybe has this ever happened? Maybe you can't talk about it. But is there anything like after the fact where, say, an actor didn't feel comfortable, as a result of, maybe you went through all of that correctly, but an actor still didn't feel comfortable. Is there a post process to like kind of debrief that? Or I don't know, anything like that?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. I think a lot of times having the conversations beforehand on what to expect tends to eliminate a lot of that like worry. Sure. It's still an uncomfortable process no matter how you do it. I think what it feels, we prefer like the term confident. Are you confident in what you're doing? Are you able to do your job? And if not, then we talk about it. Also, we take breaks. I check in with actors in between takes to see if anything is going on. We might need to take a break. We might not. But yeah, usually I'm checking in quite a bit with everyone just to make sure everyone's good. If someone's not good, we would deal with it.
Sure.
we might have to move things around, but a lot of the conversations happen ahead of time, and that's so that when we get to set, we can just go and do the thing and know what our boundaries are, and everybody's on the same page about what's happening. There are no surprises.
Okay.
And if, something gets asked that we didn't agree on, I can speak to that and be like, we didn't agree on this for today. If we want to shoot that, we're going to need to talk about it and shoot it another time.
So it takes a lot of the pressure off of the talent when the director's like, hey, do this. Like, we didn't talk about that. Talk to Stephanie.
Yeah, definitely. And even if something like the director is like, this doesn't look right, can you please fix it? And be like, I got you. Cool. You need choreography suggestions as well. I got you. But yeah, I think when we talk about consent, the pressure of time is a very real thing. And that go atmosphere, which, we are trying to do our best and be efficient, but the pressure of time doesn't allow for people to fully consider what's being asked of them, and consider whether it's something they actually want to do or if they're just saying yes to make sure they're not slowing down production or going to be actors or an actor. We want everyone to love us. We don't want to be difficult to work with. We're afraid of being labeled that way. So having an intimacy coordinator kind of like takes the pressure off that. And I'm a third party too. So that really helps as well. Just break up that natural.
Of everyone's boundaries without having them have to like be vulnerable about them to anyone else besides you. Right.
Yeah. There are some things I'm like, what would you like me to share with your scene partner or, share with each other what you're comfortable with? I also ask like, is there anything else I should know or you want me to know that you want me to keep to myself just so I can be aware of something if something happens or, maybe there's a specific motion that's could be triggering to them and they don't want to tell everyone about it, but they'll tell me so that if they need a break and that they can give me a signal and I can be like, okay, I need to fix this really quick. And we can just kind of give people a break and all that kind of thing.
Wow. That's really cool.
I love it.
What drew you to this career field?
I took an intro to like intimacy workshop back in 2019. It was within a theater space. It was taught by a friend of mine. Her name's Audra. Haven't seen her in quite a while. But as soon as I experienced the work in that workshop, I was like, this makes 100% sense. Why have we not been doing this? I felt so empowered as an actor. I felt like at that point, I felt like I had the option to say no, even though no is hard to say. And I just like, it sparked this like curiosity of like how I've always worried about like down the road as an actor, if I get into a film, like, and there's a sex scene, like, would I be comfortable saying no? Or like, would they respect if I was like, I only want to show, this or not that, or that kind of thing? How do I ensure that I'm protected? And so once I learned this, I was like, oh, and there's choreography, specific storytelling to these moments, like there's so much that goes into a fight, but then like when we get to like a kiss, it's like, okay, just do it. Right. And it's like, it's not just do it. It's what story are these characters telling? What kind of kiss is this?
Because there has to be a reason to have that kiss. Otherwise, don't just put it in there. Don't just put nudity in a movie just for nudity's sake. Make it serve the story.
Right. Like it needs to lend to the character and the story that we're telling. So I think this also adds another level of specificity to the stories we are telling, which I think makes it more interesting. So anyway, I did an in-person workshop in Minneapolis. They had a 3-day, like kind of like what we call level 1, like intro to the whole process. And that was of 2020. And then 2020 happened. Oh, and COVID happened. And then actually everything went virtual.
Okay.
So then all of these classes, I just took classes the whole time.
Yeah? Wow.
And then a theater needed me in for a production where there was a pretty big age gap. Okay. And they were like, I know you've only taken, so much, but like if you could just help be in the room and be kind of an advocate, I was like, yes, absolutely. Wow. And since then, it's basically been back-to-back intimacy directing for theater since then.
Really?
Yeah. So then last year, early in the spring, I applied for intimacy directors and coordinators, their level 3 program. They kind of developed a certification program for themselves. And I was like, I need to delve in more to the film side. I'm really interested in that. So trained there for 3 months. It was mainly virtual, but then 3 in-person weekends in New York City. Cool. Built a cohort, which is so nice because there is like one other person, 2 other people, I guess now. As of last weekend, I know that like do this work and are in Iowa.
3 people in Iowa.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I think before last year, I didn't know anyone else was doing this.
Wow.
So having that cohort of people who are also training and like observing these same things is invaluable. Like,
sure. Peers to discuss, I don't know, techniques, practices with, and like just
bouncing
no one else
ideas
can
back
speak
up.
that language.
It was. I think it was really hard, but this past year has been so uplifting and like encouraging to me because, you know, I can talk to my mentor or talk to my cohorts and they're like, yeah, we deal with that all the time. We're like, oh yeah, we're dealing with that attitude, you know, on set as well, you know, that kind of thing. So
is there like an industry, let's talk film just for specifically for a second. Is there like an industry standard that, let's say, SAG accepts, or is IDC kind of like a faction and there's another faction here, but they're all intimacy coordinators and they're all good?
I think from what I last heard, so this may have changed. As far as I'm aware, I think that there has to be some level of training. And so that's kind of being discussed right now on like what exactly this is. So with IDC specifically, that's why they put their certification in. So it can prove like, here are all the things that all of our certified intimacy trainers have done. They've gone through this training. They've done in-person work. They've had a mentor period. Like they can clearly prove that we have experience. And that's why I wanted it too, specifically for film.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is there I'm guessing there is a pretty high demand for intimacy coordinators specifically in the Midwest, but also coasts and everywhere?
I think it kind of depends. Currently, the SAG union statement is that they need to, what is the term? To at least earnestly pursue an intimacy coordinator for those scenes. And actors can still ask for one, but they're not required. So, you know, I've had inquiries where they're like, you know, tell me about what you do. We're kind of looking for an intimacy coordinator, but maybe they didn't hire me. And did they hire someone else? I don't know. But they did their due diligence in trying. So I think, and not to say that they didn't hire someone, but I think it allows a lot more freedom right now. I'm really hoping that in the upcoming like 3 years, when the contracts kind of like discuss that it will be required for nudity, simulated sex, and hyperexposure.
That makes sense.
Just like, you know, a stunt coordinator would be for fights. But I am hoping that like with this new round of things and the more people learn about this work that we will be pulled in more. I think we will be in high demand at some point, just maybe not right now.
Gotcha.
So hoping so.
Right.
The more people learn, like I just feel like a lot of people have a lot of questions about this, but once they experience it, it just makes sense. It's just one of those like, oh yeah, of course. You know, I worked on a film a couple weeks ago where the actors were like, wait, there are people who don't use intimacy coordinators for this?
Oh, really?
And I was like, yeah. And they were like, what do you mean? Like, they're like, this is insane. I can't imagine not having, you know, someone like you on set to do these scenes. And I was like, 1, that's a huge compliment to me. But 2, like, yeah, people just did this like before.
Can you talk about the project? Like what specifically was going on?
Sure. It was a scene with like partial nudity and simulated sex.
Gotcha.
I'm not really going to like name names or anything.
No,
I like to keep like just everyone's stuff private.
Sure,
so.
That's fine. But has there ever been a scenario where like someone didn't agree, where there was pushback between, the actor and the director, or the vision just wasn't meshing. How did you negotiate that?
Yeah, I think oftentimes there might be a certain position or a camera angle that the director has in mind. And so if an actor's like, listen, I want my back to be shown, but I don't want my bottom half to be shown from the back. But the director's like, I really want this big, wide open, full shot.
Okay.
Then I would come back to get the actor's boundaries, say, great, I'm going to talk to the director about that. Let me come back and we will talk again. So then I come to the director. I would say, hey, the actor is totally great with, upper back nudity. They don't want any of the bottom in a wide. So is there another way we could do this? Could they have, is this a shower scene? Could they have a towel around them that's starting to fall? And by the time it falls, we're closer into a mid shot. So sometimes the director's like, oh yeah, that's fine. That's, other times we have to find a way around these things because, if a role specifically requires something, the actor's like, I don't want to do the scene at all. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, it's it's part of the scene. You knew this ahead of time, but it becomes difficult. But usually as early as these conversations can happen, the more we're able to mitigate and work around things. Sure. But consent's always reversible too. So not without consequence, but an actor's safety is the utmost importance to me.
Yeah. Who has the hierarchy here? If the director's like, no, I have to have this shot, do you have to go back and say, sorry, you got to do it, even though it violates your consent?
No.
No. Okay. No. So the consenting party has the hierarchy here.
To me, yes, that is why I'm there. That is my job. My job is to advocate for the actors and their boundaries and their safety.
Even if that means risking their position, their position as an actor. They could get fired if they don't.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm a third party. I don't have casting or firing power at all. Now, I know things have happened. I haven't had any of this happen to me personally yet. Sure. But one of my mentors did say that there was a time on set where they came on and one actor was not willing to do the scene because there was a boundary being crossed. And the intimacy coordinator was like, hey, this is a boundary. We have to stick with this. This is what we all agreed on. Mm-hmm. And the director was like, well, I'm going to do it this way. And the intimacy coordinator was like, I mean, you can't do anything at that point. If the director's like, I'm going to do what I want. It's like, okay, I come to the actors, or they did, they went to the actors and were like, hey, I'm sorry. I can no longer work on this set because I can't, I'm not being listened to. I'm not being respected. Your boundaries aren't being respected. So there's nothing else I can do right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to have to walk.
You can recuse yourself because
I can't be responsible for safety protocols not being followed, or boundaries not being followed. So, you can stay here as an actor. You're welcome to do whatever you want. But I think one of the actors was like, one locked themselves in their in their dressing room trailer and was like, unless there's an intimacy coordinator on set, I'm not doing the scene. I think the main part is if I cannot have a voice in that room for actors' boundaries and boundaries are being crossed consistently, I can't do my job. Mm-hmm. So for instance, I'm not going to stay on a set kind of like a stunt coordinator. If they're actually he's like, no, I actually want them to punch each other. And the stunt coordinator's like, no, right. That's not the way you do it. That's a safety thing. Then they're not going to stay on that project because they would be like, that's part of their job. That safety is part of their job. So likewise, it's like, I want them to actually do this thing or I want them to cross that boundary. It's like, no, that is not what we agreed on for safety protocols for these things. We were all in agreement. So no. And if they're like, well, I'm going to do it anyway. It's like, well, then why am I here?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of, like I said, as much communication ahead of time as possible helps mitigate a lot of these things. So I feel like a lot of these things were happening when not everyone's on the same page. Or, that's why you also have a rehearsal too. Clothed rehearsal to like figure things out and figure out the way it's going to go. Like then hopefully,
because you hopefully just want to do one take of this and like get dressed, right?
Oh no, I wish that were the case.
Ooh,
it's just like anything else. It's gonna take a wide shot, a close up, an insert shot, like all these things. But I think the difference is with a closed set, what would happen is set gets done, actors in position, everyone who doesn't need to be in the room for the filming leaves. And then we take robes off of the actors. They go. We roll camera. We cut. Robes go back on. Everyone comes in to adjust things, and then we continue to do that. So actors are normally being like putting a robe on, stepping off stage, like in between takes and setups and stuff. So it can take a long time, but at the same time, it's not like just everyone's sitting out, hanging out.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Literally hanging out. Right.
Like, cause crew also like, are like, I know what I'm seeing on camera. I know that's what's filming, but also like they might not, nobody wants to just be walking around,
lunch with a naked person.
Yeah, right? There are a lot of people on set, and the crew has to consent to that too.
Right.
Right. So
wow. Okay, so there are obviously a lot of films, specifically in the Midwest, which is where you're based. A lot of films going on, and I see some here and there that could probably have used an intimacy coordinator, and I think that a lot of people just don't know that that's an option, and I think that people generally do want to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
They don't just want people slugging it out, without a safety net.
Yeah.
And so what would you say to whatever audience is listening here about getting involved?
Absolutely. So, one, if you have questions, you can always message me. My website is www.stephanieschneideric.com. You can contact me there. I'm also on social media. Even if you're like, I just had this where a director called me and was like, I don't know whether my film needs an intimacy coordinator or not. Can you talk to me about what that means? Or like, and we kind of decided, I was like, I really don't think there's anything specific that you would need an intimacy coordinator for, because these are the things I usually do. Not to say that I couldn't be a support in some way, but just for the nature of this film, it didn't really call for it.
Sure.
So even just like a quick consultation, quick call. As an actor, you can definitely request an intimacy coordinator if you're worried about any scenes of intimacy. And your girl will come get you.
Can I just get a quick definition of what constitutes intimacy?
Yeah. So for me, intimacy can mean a lot of things.
Sure.
Simple as like prolonged eye contact with someone is actually very intimate.
Yeah, I might get it.
But like I said, usually for intimacy coordinators, it's simulated sex, nudity, hyperexposure, but also make-out scenes, kissing scenes, you just can't guarantee that everyone has the same experience. And with the numbers of, people who have experienced any amount of trauma are so high, that you just can't guarantee the experiences that all come into the room to create this project together. So yeah, I think I get called in a lot, for like, there's a lot of like, and they make out. It's like, okay, what does that mean? Let's break that down. What actors, what are you comfortable with? What do you think your characters would do? So I think that's a good starting point too. If you want to kind of see how that works, and work with an intimacy coordinator. I'm not there to take over the director's job or anyone else's job. I'm there to actually make the process go much smoother.
Right.
And I'm hoping that, knowing that there are people like me who do this work, will actually give writers maybe some assurance too, if they really want something like that, but they're maybe hesitant about putting that in.
Yes.
Could have some confidence in like, oh, I know that there's somebody who can help navigate this and can make it like I envision it.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like, especially in the climate we're in, that's kind of not really touched on a lot.
I would honestly shy away from writing anything intimate because I just don't have the confidence to go through with it, you know, to as far as filming it or casting it or anything. But yeah, like you said, having an intimacy coordinator would give me more confidence to go ahead and write that scene if it was necessary to the story.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I think that's something that can come out of this as well.
I like that.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's cool. Yeah, so let's move on from intimacy coordination. Let's talk about the other hats that you wear.
So
as an actor, I guess. What are some of the roles that you seek out? Kind of what are your desired roles that you're looking for?
I'd say the one that kind of has drawn me in the last like year or so has been like kind of the best friend roles. The like, I find that like kind of the guide for the protagonist to like pursue that path that they're supposed to. I'm the person that continues to push them forward and not give them resistance. So I feel like I'm kind of that like support for them.
Yeah.
You know,
you're the act 3, get them
art.
through the dark parts.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've really enjoyed that. I love period films. I'm a huge like Pride and Prejudice fan.
Gotcha.
I love nerdy stuff. So like with Peck being like on set at Rollins Mansion and, you know, the
Cool.
Salisbury house
Cool.
and like in, you know, period costume was just an absolute dream.
Cool.
And
Wow.
then also like I'm a huge reader. I'm a book nerd. I read so much that like filming between the lines in a bookshop bar, like they also sell art and they show films. It was just like this perfect place to film. I feel like I've been so lucky. I do connect a lot with like, I'm probably gonna get shit for this, but like Rey from Star Wars, like that kind of
in
like
the Star Wars film. I noticed the Rey connection that you were making. It was good.
yeah. So I think that she's inspiring, but also characters like her. I love the new Little Women as well. The character of
that.
Jo. Oh, what?
I'm sorry, I haven't.
Greta Gerwig directs it. It's
Yeah, I
got
love
Meryl
Greta Gerwig. I
Streep.
haven't
It's got
seen it.
Saoirse Ronan. It's got Florence Pugh. Emma Watson. Like, and
Wow.
more. Oh, and of course Laura Dern plays mom.
We love Laura Dern. Holy smokes! I'm wearing a Jurassic Park tank top right now.
Hey, yes, you absolutely need to see it. It's just, I've seen the older version too, and I love it. But Jo is just, I love Jo. She's a writer, she's an artist, and she just feels stuck in her time. And I feel like for a long time I felt that too. Just kind of like couldn't quite figure out where I belonged because am different from my siblings in a lot of ways. So yeah, just the way that story is told, and 4 girls, and I grew up in a family of 4 girls. I just really connect to Little Women. There's
love it, I can
so
tell.
many. I also love fantasy and sci-fi. I love world building.
Yeah.
I really like Witcher.
So that's what are some of the
and
fandoms that you really go for?
Lord of the Rings, like Galadriel.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
That is
With
that and like Star Wars is like the pinnacle. Like
Nice.
Ahsoka. Oh, I have so many. Oh yeah, Lord of the Rings. Kind of some of those like classics from like the 2000s.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do action films as well.
Yeah.
But I was obsessed with Robin Hood as a kid.
Oh, cool.
I was like I'm a sucker for anybody with a bow.
Yeah.
You know, Legolas, Katniss.
I used to play in the
just
woods
all of
by
them.
my house and think it was Sherwood Forest. I mean,
Yeah,
my God.
exactly. So yeah, I think anything with like that's like heavy on like superheroes too, or fighting, which is
Sure.
why I'm playing around. I won't say it's happening because I don't know if I
You doing
say
some
it, then it
writing?
has to happen.
Are you
Maybe
doing
I
some
should
writing,
say
Stephanie?
it. Yeah, I can't say it's good, but
What do you got?
I'm writing a action superhero film for myself because I want to play something. And there are some people writing superhero stuff, but I want something that tells a very strong feminine story and also shows like different dynamics and kind of like just kind of a kick-ass story, really.
Oh, yeah. Is this based on any specific universe or
Yeah.
lore? Or
Yeah,
is it...
it'd very much be a fan film.
Gotcha.
Like, yeah.
Oh, cool.
So
How's the writing coming?
it's 2/3 done, I think.
2/3?
Yeah,
Are we looking at a feature or a short? What are you looking at?
probably. I'd probably be close to a feature.
Yeah?
I think so.
We love
I don't
that.
know. It depends. I know the thing is like, don't do a fighting month montage scene, and I was like, dang it,
I don't know. I feel
I
like...
don't know. I've got to. I'm just in my first draft, so I'm not editing any of that shit.
Right.
I'm just gonna write the whole thing, and then I'll go back and edit.
Yeah. And I feel like you know so many of the connections of people that can help you make your feature happen.
Exactly.
You know? It's
So.
it's not all on you. Like the thing
Right.
is there's this great community of resources out there that you're tapped into, which is great. Yeah. I want to talk
Back
about
on
like
track.
superheroes and everything, but let's probably move on
Yeah.
from it.
We can still.
Yeah. Okay, did you see the Marvels?
I haven't yet.
I haven't either. I just know it's getting kind of critically panned.
Yeah, I feel like
Wait, Michael's giving thumbs up.
Anything.
It's good or it's...
It's great. It's great.
It is great?
it's great. I mean,
Oh.
honestly, I don't have a problem with most Marvel movies.
Right.
But also like I'm not extremely invested in them. Like I think like okay, it's the same. It's kind of similar for me, like Star Wars. I can recognize that some of them are not as good as others, like clearly, but I love them all.
Yeah.
With Marvel, I am not also not like I'm not like I don't know all the comics. I don't read all the comics. I don't know. I feel like once you know that stuff, it's really hard to like divorce yourself from like the expectations that come from it.
Oh,
makes
sure.
So like
So you're having the kind of like blissful, like, I don't know what the comics say. I can just enjoy the lore that they've built.
yeah, I'll enjoy the ride. Although I do think they did Wanda dirty a little.
Dude.
I love her so much.
Oh,
Although it was so good.
She's one of my favorite characters because she's so vulnerable. She's so powerful, but she's so vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that they're missing that on some of the newer superhero films. Is that they're just making these people like powered and like a little depressed. You know,
Yeah.
but there needs to be more of like a human element and ground them a bit.
Yeah, and I think that like Marvel does a really great job of like adding a fun element to it and like a
Yeah.
joking element to
Yeah.
it. But like I think for me personally, like I loved Ragnarok.
Yeah, just
End
the-
of Ragnarok, where like worlds watching it just come apart, and then we had a slapstick joke in there at the head. Ruined it for me because I was like, oh, I am feeling all the feelings. Let me feel it.
Right.
And I think sometimes that feels missing sometimes.
Yeah. It's like
but
they're-
that's so like moments like that are so important.
They've almost become like afraid of the feel. Like they get you close and then they make that joke.
Yeah.
Because they don't want you to get too, I don't know, heavy.
Well, and I wonder if that's too because it's also like partially marketed to like a younger audience as well.
fair.
It's kind of like, across the board.
fair.
So, I think Multiverse of Madness might have been the darkest
That was my favorite.
one. It was
That was
really
that's
good.
my
I liked
favorite
it.
Marvel film.
But everyone was like, it was so dark and kind
Well,
of
that and 'cause
scary.
Sam
And I was
Raimi.
like,
Whew. Yeah. Yeah.
but on the opposite side, I think DC is too much like Batman.
I don't know what the hell's going on with DC right now. Just a brooding.
And just like brooding, and you're like,
Well, I mean, they've got
Okay.
3 Batmans now. What are they even doing?
Flashpoint.
Right. Elseworlds, fine. Whatever.
I have opinions about DC, but also like I'm like the characters. I really liked watching the CW DC shows, and I'm not afraid to admit it.
I
They're,
loved
like,
Arrow.
Arrow was so
It's
good.
so good.
Got a little long towards the end, but that's why. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
The first
obsessed.
like 5 seasons were fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Flash
and
was good till like season 3.
yeah. I enjoyed Supergirl.
Yeah,
But also, oh shoot, do you watch Young Justice?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, it's on HBO or Max.
Not sponsored.
Max, not sponsored. It's one of the best animated shows I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
check it
and it's about like the second generation of the Justice League, basically.
Nice.
And there's so many good characters. So they have Blue Beetle comes in, and Tigress, and a couple other like another Archer character.
Nice.
So
Cool.
Green Arrow's apprentice.
Nice.
She's awesome. Her name's Artemis, also my dog's name.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Named after Artemis or
No,
different?
actually, she came that way, and I'm actually obsessed with Artemis, the moon goddess, as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a whole thing. Like Lindsay Sterling. I don't know who knows Lindsay Sterling.
I love
is.
Lindsay Sterling.
Lindsay
Come
Sterling's amazing.
on.
So when she did Artemis
Yeah.
album and like made the costumes and did the music videos and the comic book series, like I'm obsessed. That to me is like as like making what you want like in all spaces. And I think that's why I look up to her so much, is that like she's all in. Like she plans all these things. She has this vision, and not only is it
Build a world
both
around
like
your album.
auditory and visual, it's also like reading and like you can hold it in your hands, you can
tactile.
watch videos, and like the fact that she makes her own costumes, like she is incredible. She's the most like cool human being
She's a
ever.
very spectacular person. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, very talented.
I finally got to see her at the State Fair this year in person. So.
You went and saw that? That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it was so
Nice.
cool. And she's
think so.
always learning new things to bring to her craft, which is something I always want to do. Is continue to learn new skills so that I'm ready when opportunity meets training.
like that.
You know?
Wow. Something I want to ask kind of in closing is, and you touched on it a little bit, but what are some just like art or media or resources that have kind of just like informed your creativity in general? You know, things that just sort of inspire you and kind of drive you to keep going.
I think Lindsay Sterling is definitely one.
Yeah.
It's all like put together, and she has a clear story she's telling. I read a lot of books, a lot of fiction, a lot of fantasy.
Nice.
And I'm so interested in like mythology retellings and like lore. I'm just like, I love lore. I love like getting deep in it. And like there's a writer, her name is Genevieve, I think it's Gornacek, I think is her last name. She wrote The Witch's Heart, which is a retelling of the story of Angrboda, which was Loki's first wife.
Okay.
And it is fascinating, and it has all the Norse gods, and like it was just so clever, and I've just been really interested in that, and I think lore and magic and like just how writers weave these worlds together, and they're all still different stories, is like incredible to me.
Yeah.
I think for me, the biggest formative things for me are like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Those were like my two major fandoms. I mean, can you get any cooler than Eowyn? Like on the battlefield killing the Witch King. Like that to me,
That's some badass
inspiration.
stuff, man.
Yeah, it is. And and then like Ahsoka, just that whole like bridge in Star Wars, bridging something that like you have to be really like into it to watch like Clone Wars and to follow her story, and then to jump in and bridge between that and the rebellion that happens later. And it took the lore of Clone Wars and added in these pieces that like people like me were losing our minds over. And then my spouse is there like, that was cool. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This thing is the thing from this episode where the thing did this thing, you know, like I'm just like going crazy. And I love that attention to detail. Right. I love like,
and respect for the
world
for the
building.
Fans, I think.
Yeah. A deep respect for that. And I have also recently gotten into Dungeons and Dragons because
Nice.
why not add in another
You're such a nerd.
nerd hat? But that's so interesting too because that's like an improv form of storytelling. I think storytelling is just something I want to do, like in whatever form that looks like. Creating characters and being able to play them and try different ones on too, like, it's so fun. That's why I'm an actor. I can't choose. Choose what I want to do. I want to do it all. I want to try on all these other things. But also, huge music fan. Like, I don't know. Paramore is a classic. I listen to so much music too. My spouse is also a musician, so like writes his own music and plays with live music all the time.
Does he perform?
Extremely talented. Yes. Wow. Plug Jay Schneider. Currently, he plays with Pianopalooza right now, which is a dueling pianos and also like larger band thing. They'll play at Woolies on New Year's Eve.
Wow.
So yeah, extremely talented. It's really cool to be in the same space and share a life with another artist who understands like the ebb and flow and craziness that happens with art.
But you also have your own like, I don't know, I'm trying to say mediums that you
like paths.
So you can speak the same language of creativity.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like our focuses are slightly different, but we understand the struggles.
Right. Yeah.
100%. So yeah, I'm continually amazed by directors and being able to see a whole story. I think that's something like that might be in my future eventually too. Yeah, directing.
I get that because you're into world building and storytelling in general, and that's if you want to control the story, that's what a director will do.
Exactly. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely seem passionate and brilliant, and
thank you.
Anti-music coordination is a very important thing. I mean, I want to plug that again. Is it StephanieSchneiderIC.com? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll put a link in the description so people can go check you out. And how else can people follow you?
I'm on Instagram. It's kind of my favorite social media of choice. I love TikTok, but I don't do videos anymore. Right. I tried that for a while. And then, I'm also on Facebook too because, it's my address book. So,
yeah, fair.
Yeah, check me out.
Yeah. Anything else before we go?
I don't think so.
All right.
This is super fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. All right, that's it for now. Bye, everyone. Thanks.